dead by terrorists, two non-local labourers from Uttar Pradesh have now been killed in a targeted grenade attack in Shopian. Manish Kumar and Ram Sagar are in danger of becoming mere statistics in the long list of targeted, bigoted terror attacks and killings in Kashmir, where local politicians have a long history of blaming India while giving clean chits to terror factory of Pakistan, where they keep singing the old tune of Kashmiri aspirations and identity as if that justifies killing innocents. Now, within 24 hours, cops have arrested two terrorists in connection with the latest killings. According to Shopian police, one of the terrorists is identified as Imran Bashir Ghani. He's a hybrid terrorist of the Lashkar-e-Toiba terror outfit. But the challenge is also quite clear. While India has broken the back of Pakistan nexus and terror groups' presence in the valley, hybrid terror is turning out to be a monster difficult to slay. What can India do? We will take that to our guests in just a bit. But first, I want to show you more of how these killings have become a low-cost, easy way out for frustrated terror groups wanting to stall the irreversible march of Kashmir to a new direction. Three innocent men have been killed, targeted just this week in Kashmir. Just yesterday, Manish Kumar and Ram Sagar, two non-local labourers, as I mentioned, they've been killed by launching a grenade over them while they were sleeping. Can you imagine? Just 2 days before that, Puran Krishan Bhatt, a Kashmiri Hindu, was shot dead by terrorists. Another brutal targeted killing, one in long line of many, and I'll show you why. This is a clear strategy shift and a trend visible since last year. In October 2021, you would remember, 4 innocents were killed in separate attacks, creating widespread panic. Deepak Chand, a Kashmiri Pandit teacher, Satinder Kaur, a Sikh school principal, Makhanlal Bindru, a prominent Kashmir Pandit chemist, you would remember, Virendra Paswan, a street vendor from Bihar. All of these were killings, and very well-chosen, targeted killings of people who either do a certain kind of job or people who are known in society. Therefore, spread panic amongst the minorities and the non-locals in the valley. Then in May 2022, earlier this year, 3 more killings in 1 month. Rajni Bala, Kashmiri Hindu teacher who was shot dead in Kulgam. Rahul Bhatt, a government employee who was shot dead in Badgam. Ranjit Singh, Kashmiri Pandit, killed in a grenade attack. Again, all of these, if you look at the people who are being targeted, it is quite clear that they are being chosen, which is why these are being termed targeted killings. June earlier this year, Vijay Kumar, a bank manager, was shot dead in Kulgam. Clear message against central scheme employees being rehabilitated in the valley, people who come to the valley either as labourers, workers to earn daily wages, or who work, especially in some of the remote areas. They want them to be made to feel unsafe, and many of them do. August 2022, not so long ago, Sunil Kumar, another Kashmiri Hindu, was shot dead in Shopian. Utter bigoted killings, and let no one tell you otherwise, because local politicians have a tendency to whitewash these crimes. The big question we asked today is, what should be our response? How can India tackle this menace of hybrid terrorism which targets the innocents and the unarmed?
हम रिक्वेस्ट करना चाहते हैं गवर्नमेंट से, बार बार 140 दिनों से करते आ रहे हैं। एलजी साहब से हमने यही गुहार लाई है कि हमें जम्मू से कश्मीर से जम्मू को ट्रांसफर किया जाए। सिविल के लिए रोकने के लिए आगे आए और इंसानियत की हिफाजत करें।
किलिंग से हमारी वादी और हमारी स्टेट को, लोगों को नुकसान ज्यादा पहुंचता है।
ये कभी बंद नहीं होगा, जब तक इंसाफ नहीं होगा कभी बंद नहीं होगा।
Going across to our guests now, joining us, RP Singh of the BJP is with us. Ashwini Bhatt is a Kashmiri activist. Major General Dhrusi Katoch, Director, India Foundation, is also with us. RP Singh, let me begin with you. While the Indian forces have done a tremendous job in the valley, they've flushed out terrorism and terror groups. There is no denying the ground has shifted in Kashmir. Would you also not concede that these kind of attacks that are taking place against unarmed innocent civilians, minorities or non-locals, this is a situation that the government doesn't quite fully have under control?
Well, Shivani, there's a shift in terrorism in Kashmir today. There used to be terrorist activity which was known from across the water which was happening, and government of the day and the security agencies had dealt with that, and that has scaled down to quite a level. But there's a new type of terrorism which has started almost a year back, which is a hybrid sort of terrorism, where there are no routine terrorists. There are some individuals who have been brainwashed, and some weapon, I mean pistol or a gun, small gun, is being given to such people, and they come and do a targeted killing with a community, for a community, against a community, or against certain individuals who matter in society. So this also need to be taken, and then government of the day, the administration of the Jammu Kashmir is already working on it, which is that taking people in confidence. Amit Shah ji was in Valley recently. We have seen his rally there in the Valley, which sort of rally, almost more than 35,000 people were there on the ground for the rally, which categorically indicates that there's a churning happening in Kashmir today. People are fed up of all sort of terrorism, and then when the locals start supporting any such objective of doing the cleansing part, even for the hybrid, that's where the hybrid terrorism will be tackled with. And
no, I get what you're saying, and like I said, of course we understand this is a shifted strategy. There is no large presence of terror groups right now, and therefore this is a very easy way to continue to spread terror. But sir, the locals are still afraid for their lives, right? The Kashmiri Pandits are still afraid for their lives. Now, you could argue that non-local labourers, people who are daily wage earners, have no option. They will still risk their lives and go to Kashmir and work there, even if there is a spectre of being killed in a grenade attack. But you hearing the voices of Kashmiri Pandits and those who've been rehabilitated in the valley under the central scheme, they don't want to stay. What would you say to them? As you say that this has been a trend over the last 1.5 years, as I showed as well, what is being done to control this?
See, I have all my sympathy and I have all my regards for the Kashmiri Pandits, that they are fighting the battle which the nation, they are fighting the nation's battle. But when they are there and then being targeted by new sort of hybrid sort of terrorists, they are fighting the nation's fight against the terrorism. But Shivani, what are the options? I mean, option is that either we give up or we take them head on. So the process is that we take them head on. The condition is much better than what it was before the withdrawal of application of 370 and 35A.
Okay, let me pose this question to you. RP Singh, let me pose this question to you.
Give me a second.
Yes.
Yes. So every month there used to be a calendar. The calendar for that, this all days there will be no one who is walking out. The markets, this market will be closed, that market will be closed, and also not that. I mean, there were stone pelters on street. The ISS flags were being raised outside the mosque. So there's a shift from there to that. Yes, there is better security today. There is better environment today. The locals are being involved. Locals are taking care of the process of the democracy.
Okay, I'll come back to you, sir. Let me just go across to some of my other guests. I do have a couple of more questions to you pertaining to the government's attitude and action on ground. But let me go across to Major General first up. Major General, what do you think? Is there a specific way that the Indian agencies and forces can deal with this kind of hybrid terrorism? Or because we are dealing with this module which is difficult to identify, even elements of society are difficult to be flushed out if they are sympathetic to a certain cause or not? What do you think are the challenges and what more can we do?
Thank you, Shivani. Shivani, let's get one thing clear. What has happened in Kashmir over the last, say, 3 decades is that the terrorists have been one step ahead of the agencies, let me put it this way. So whenever we have tackled a particular problem, and 370 was a very major initiative, and that really broke the backbone, we can say, of the organization. But then they shifted tactics. And now the shift in tactics is really to go after the unarmed Hindu population, I will put it very specifically, to create terror and to give an impression that, listen, this place is not safe for you. Now that is the problem. Now we come down to what can we do. I think there are two things which stand out very clearly. One, when we talk of, I've heard many channels talking of this as lone wolf attacks.
Yeah, yeah.
These are not lone wolf attacks. A lone wolf is an individual who operates independently. These people are not operating independently. They have a huge organization behind them. So they get intelligence input, they get weapons, and then they get the target. So there is an organization behind them, and we need to find out what this organization is. That organization needs to be targeted and eliminated. That is one. Number two, where is the origin coming from? Now, the origin is obviously some of these terrorists, they belong to India, but the brain power behind it comes from Pakistan. I think it is high time that we started conveying a message to the Pakistanis across the LOC that this is going to be made very expensive for you. And the Indian state can do it. The question is, the time for being squeamish is over.
Yeah.
They are creating a problem in an area which has become a very, very peaceful area. In this year itself, in the first 9 months, more than 1 crore tourists have visited the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. It has never happened before. And not one of those tourists have been targeted. So whom are these people targeting? They are targeting the Kashmiri Hindu, and they are targeting the lower end spectrum of workers
The
and
non-locals there. You're very right in saying, Major General, that it's not the time to be squeamish. In fact, I remember months ago when those targeted killings were taking place. For example, earlier in May this year, I did a debate saying, is it not time to go all out? I don't understand what is the compulsion on our side to be softer on terror elements, separatist elements in the valley, while people who are pro-India and are patriotic and are vulnerable and are in minority come under the gun. That's precisely the attitude that I'm pointing out, where we somehow feel throwing money, throwing development is going to win everybody over. It won't win everybody over. You have to be strong and iron-handed against elements who don't care for you.
You're absolutely right. Now, I want to take a specific example. There's the Hurriyat, which is still existing, and their supporters. I think it's high time they're taken in. You see, and there will be a lot of people who will cry horse and talk of human rights, etc., etc. But there is a larger good which we are looking at. And the larger good is that we want peace to prevail in Jammu and Kashmir. Now, if you look at that larger good, then all these people who are the anti-India elements who are there and who freely propagate their stuff, either from the madrasas or from some of the mosques, or even in some of the journals which they are publishing there, they need to be taken care of. And now, unless we do that internally and handle Pakistan externally, Pakistan has to be punished. And internally, we cannot allow them to get away. Now, if you do something like this, I think very, very quickly you will find a change coming out, and we will defeat this particular technique which the terrorists have used to target the population.
Let me also go across to Ashwini Bhatt, who's joining us. Ashwini, you have lost your brother, Rahul Bhatt, to one such targeted attack. I thank you for joining us. What do you make of the sense that is emerging from the employees under the center scheme, or even from Kashmiri Pandits who feel that the situation is just not safe enough for them to continue in Kashmir? Do you believe that moving away, even if temporary, is the solution, or will the Kashmiri Hindu population end up conceding ground if they move away? Should they stay, or do you believe that it is indeed too dangerous for them to do so?
Yeah. Thanks, Shwani. Thanks for having me. I'll put it a little differently. In the current avatar and how, the change tactics that we are, we've been seeing for the last almost a year now, I agree with Major General Dhruv Katoj, right? We have to be ideally we have to be proactive, but even if the state is going to react to the change tactics of targeted killing, I haven't seen any change of policy from on ground. Let me just give a couple examples. This needs an integrated approach. It's not about the security agencies alone. They are doing a fantastic job in terms of hunting the terrorists down and killing them. But what we need to do is actually, with this change tactic, go back onto the drawing board and see what options do we have. One is, how do we sort of counter the indoctrination, right? We have seen that there is one terrorist is getting replaced by two. So we need to make sure that we are attaching cost to, at multiple levels. One, a cost to an individual becoming a terrorist in terms of making sure that his family is bereft of any government employment or benefits. Number one. Number two, these terrorists, they don't, and Major General would agree with me, it's not that they're living in some forest. They are harbored, they are fed and sheltered within the society. So we need to make sure that we attach the cost.
You're absolutely right there, Ashwini. They are, of course, people who are not terrorists by day, but they are conducting these strikes either for money or for whatever other ideological reasons. How do you identify them? That is the challenge.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. It's a misnomer. See, that's what I'm saying. You need to attach that cost of anyone where a terrorist is found harbored. You have to have a policy that that house needs to sort of get razed down. If there is a terrorist coming out of a family, that whole family, there are no government benefits, provided to that family. You would have informers within the families. I can bet on this, and
okay.
I'm ready.
Can I bring in Major General Dhruv Katoch on this? Major General, will such a strategy work?
Shivani, I'm absolutely certain it will. You see, once there's a terrorist and he has been eliminated, we know who that person is. We know who his family is. We know who that village is. Now, that family is a part of the system which has supported this terrorist. That means he's an accomplice, and that complete family has to be put under the Terrorist Act and taken care of. You do that to one family, you will prevent a whole range of accidents happening. So please go after all of them. Number two, the politicians. We have these political parties which are soft, which are very soft on terror.
Yeah, I mean, just because you're mentioning that, let me just mention the likes of Farooq Abdullah are still going on to say that such killings will not stop, they will continue. And jab tak insaf nahi hoga, tab tak hoga. Almost presenting this as some fight against injustice, as if anything can justify this kind of a violence.
Shivani, I want to talk about this. May I just 1 minute?
Yeah, Major General Dhruv Katoch, then Ashwini, I'll come back to you.
Sure.
Shivani, I want to talk about the statement of Farooq Abdullah. Now, he said, insaf hona chahiye. I want to say the same thing. Insaf hona chahiye. So, for the people who committed the genocide of the Kashmiri Hindus in 1990, he was presiding over as the chief minister of the state. I think Mr. Farooq Abdullah, and I will say it openly in your channel, should be tried for genocide, as must all other people who we have records of who committed those acts. Once you do that, that will give a very stern message to all politicians not to indulge in such activities. Shivani.
Yeah. I'm also joined by Farooq Wani, who's editor, Brighter Kashmir.